Welcome to today's show, beautiful humans. I just love coming across kick-ass people who have built successful big careers and then, like me, for one reason or another, had this wake-up call, which enabled them to tap into enhanced wisdom and understanding. I'm a member of the Female Founders Collective, which is an incredible network of women identifying entrepreneurs. And I happened to hear about a book called Chase You, co-written by my guest today, Elizabeth Kendig. Now, Elizabeth spent much of her career in retail, editorial, beauty, and publicity. And for years, she was a recognized editorial director. She co-founded the awesome brand One Love Organics, and she's a twice exited founder. So yeah, you could say that by LinkedIn standards that she's been pretty successful. But now more recently, Elizabeth has discovered that there's more to life than chasing physical success. Inspired by her own transformation, she wrote Chase You to help others heal through the power of spirituality. And I'm so excited to welcome you, Elizabeth, to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. You nailed it. You can write my next bio.
All right. Well done. Well done. Well, I have to say, I mean, it's pretty easy because you had it going on. I mean, you were a magazine editor. You say you were an accidental influencer, which is always amusing. So you've got to tell us about your storied career.
Yes, accidental influencer, because I was one of those sort of, I hate to say OG bloggers, who was a journalist, who was a magazine editor, and blogs were sort of like cropping up. And I thought, well, I should just try this as part of my professional experience. And it's just going to be a creative outlet. And it took off. I did a lot of TV and radio. I woke up one day and had, 1 million Pinterest followers, and that just started ticking up. And so these were the days of brand collaborations. And I mean, they're still going on, but I really fell into it and had the most incredible experience. And out of that co-founded 2 skincare lines and really got to live my very young childhood dreams of working in the beauty space, not only as a writer, but as a product developer and marketer. And yeah, it was a dream come true. So people always say, why would you stop doing that? And at the same time, as an editor, I was getting to travel around the world and locally experience so many beauty treatments. And that sort of was a time when an acupuncture facial was like on the fringe, and no one was talking about Mercury retrograde, and all of these sort of holistic and metaphysical modalities started creeping into my purview and my like personal interest. And so I like to say that I went on a spiritual or self-help bender and came out on the other side just with a new way of life, a new way of being. I finally felt like I was meant to be here, like I wasn't an accident on the earth. I meet a lot of sort of recovering perfectionists and like highly ambitious people who appear to have it all together, but like still feel like they're out of place walking the earth because, we're spiritual beings in physical bodies. And as soon as I connected with these sort of spiritual healers and guides on earth, I felt like something sort of clicked for me. Like I felt like I had found my people, and this connection to the other side just made me feel whole and not alone. And so that became a career transition, but also just part of who I am today too.
Yeah.
So I had to share it. I mean, when you're a communicator, all you want is to tell people what is available to them for support and for healing.
For sure. Now, I want to step back because you touched on the fact that we're both from the beauty industry.
Yes.
It's a glamorous life. You get to see and experience the kind of lifestyle that a lot of women covet and they had always wanted. And you feel like, yeah, do I feel like I made it? But why is it that something's still missing? Why is it that something still feels like there's got to be more? Can you tell me about like what it is about hustle culture that may have really been very seductive to a lot of women that are,
I can. Yeah, I can. It's such a great question, and so timely too, I think, because I'm hoping that hustle culture is on its way out. We don't need it. It's not working for us. We think it is. I look back on those days and I worked 80 hours a week. At times I had a full-time job and I had a blog and I had a skincare line and I was freelancing and I was soaking it all up and loving it. But I think it's not because I was working so hard and hustling. It's because I was very much in flow with my my purpose at the time. So it didn't feel like work. And that's one thing I want people to take away from this book. When you're on mission, when you're chasing you, it doesn't just happen and all fall into place without any effort, but you don't ever feel like you're hustling. The right people present themselves, the right opportunities, and you have all the energy in the world to do what you're doing because you're being true to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Does that help?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I also feel like there's a lot of people who may have in the past separated their careers and what they're doing to make a living versus maybe what they're doing in their personal lives in terms of spirituality, or in the past, it was more religion based. I think in Western society, there was very much a difference like, oh, you went to church or you went to temple. And only until, for example, I think that you're a great example, then you start coming across these different kinds of healers that have always been around since ancient culture, but just for some reason, they were always either ostracized or alienated or felt like, oh, there's not realness to what they're doing. It's like voodoo magic, or it's something that is not necessarily for me. But only until we started saying, hey, yoga is actually pretty beneficial, or acupuncture, there's something to this, or there's little by little, there's been this entry into Eastern or ancient modalities that we're having this incredible wake-up call. And from your perspective, you actually met with Monica, and I would love for you to tell us about Monica and her story and how she's a healer and how she helped you to see to this other side as well.
Yeah, and I have so much heart for these practitioners. And I remember 10, 15 years ago when I started doing my own work, so many of them were not in hiding, but not very confident about putting themselves out there. They were afraid of backlash. It's become this healing space, and whether it's yoga or whether it's tarot, has become so much more accessible to people. I mean, it's been rapid in many ways, but we still have a ways to go. So I know that's one of like my missions in life, is to make these modalities accessible to people and bring these healing practitioners into the light, because they are purely here because they want to support and serve the rest of us. So I'm so glad that you brought that up. And whether it starts with something that's science-backed or at your fitness studio and that feels familiar and comfortable to you, start there. And I guarantee it'll be like a gateway drug to something else. And soon you'll be like hosting psychic parties like I did, because it feels good. It feels good and it feels whole and it feels like something that I think is familiar to all of us at our core, but we just have been like culturally sort of sanitized from these things that I think we remember once we try them. So Monica Lawson is my co-author, and she was sort of, I want to say, like almost at the tail end of this long journey that I had been on. I had been working with healers for a number of years, and a friend recommended her to me. And this is how so many healers come into me, as someone like passes me the business card. I mean, that's when you pay attention. There's a sign right there that you should meet this person. And I was at this juncture of, okay, I've had a really fabulous career. I love beauty, but it's not as meaningful to me anymore. It's not as challenging. It's still glamorous, but I'm not getting that like really like soul-based work and gratification from it. And also I just like couldn't like swatch another lipstick. Like when I just really wanted to talk about like your life path number, it just became, I really love beauty still, but I was like more tuned into inner beauty at that point. So I met with her and I didn't know what to expect. And I was in transition. I was recently divorced. I was really wanting to just like solve for everything in my life and just like put a bow on it, which we know is not how this works. It's just like you're peeling back layers one at a time. And she came to our session. This was a phone session. She came with, I don't know, 20, 21 things, like a written list that she had downloaded in her meditation or journey that she does before she meets with clients. Didn't know me from Boo. And it was profound. She didn't know what half of the things she was telling me meant, but they meant something to me. So if you've ever had an intuitive reading, there's usually more dialogue. You're asking questions. Not everyone, like people like to test that out, that the theory of like, are you really psychic or are you just sort of like guessing at my, the answer to my my question. And she came with all of this information downloaded for me already. And the other thing that stood out about her to me is that she introduced me to the concept that we all have spiritual beings, these guides, a whole team. We call them the team. Mm-hmm. She called them the team. So I've adopted that as well. And that's what we refer to them in the book as. And so that was my entry point into, wait, I don't need to have psychic powers. I can connect with my team. I can be in communication with them. I probably already am. We all are without realizing it. And she really, over the years, we worked together for a number of years, 6 or 7. She taught me how to do that. And we realized that we could teach everyone else how to do it as well. So I was her student, and I mean, now we've become dear friends and kindred spirits and souls and all those good things. But yeah, she taught me, and then I'm here to teach everyone else as a writer how to do what we do. Mm-hmm.
So yours is unique because I think that a lot of people tend to come, and mine was this kind of story where like some real sense of trauma or rock bottom happens and they feel hopeless and that there's no other way other than to dive inward. And so they come to this place of spirituality through like the phoenix out of the ashes. And It seems like your story is a little different where it was like you were just open to it. It seemed like perhaps there might have been some inquisitiveness and essential curiosity, which is wonderful, but you were open to the idea that there is something more and came to her as a client. And little by little, you kind of stepped further and further into the idea that, hey, this is beneficial. This is real. This is something that we need to share.
Yes, it was definitely the next level of my journey. But we do see, I mean, whether it's clients or whether it's me talking to, I've had a podcast as well, or readers or anyone in my sort of network, most people are in duress or they're in transition, whether it's career or relationships, or they are in transition and they're not sure what their next move is. Or we often say, like, people start thinking, is this all there is? It's like when you hit that point of, is this all there is? And for me, there was some of that. Like, you've got the job, you've got the house, you've got the car you want, you've got the kids, you've got like everything that you thought, all those boxes that you were taught to check. Mm-hmm. And there's still a sense of emptiness or loneliness or just unfulfilled potential on a soul level. Mm-hmm. I describe it as that niggling feeling. I haven't quite hit it. I haven't quite maximized my life. Those are often our readers too. So, or people who have tried, I'm a big fan of therapy, but sometimes people need something other than talking. They need something. Some people get it out of going on a really great jog or meditating, and whatever that is for you that just really taps into you on a soul level. I mean, I feel like I'm using so much woo-woo terminology right now, which is sort of, I'm cracking myself
up. Okay. Yeah.
Because I'm so used to talking about it.
So you're good. You're good.
Yeah. But we are not, and if you can't hear from my voice, I describe myself as a hippie disguised in J. Crew. We are not, I think, traditional spiritual people for what has sort of become a stereotype. Mm-hmm. So I really almost avoid some of these terms and tell people, read the book and start trying some of these modalities, because it's really as simple as remembering who you are and your truth and why you're here, and just getting back to that, getting back to center. And the other side is a tool and an invitation to do that. So, there go my airplane.
Yeah, no, I can appreciate that completely, because I think that there had been this thought that, oh, you're either in that camp of the uber woo-woo, or you're not authentically woo-woo, or, you're a skeptic and you're, much more of a career person. And this podcast and what I'm all about is embracing the intersection, because we all have these multifaceted aspects of ourselves. And the fact that you abide by or embrace a certain part of yourself, which is the spirituality, which is the soul-centeredness, and can bring that into your profession and be somebody who is all about beauty and is all about culture and lifestyle, you can still talk to your spirit guides and do all of these things and live this wonderfully fulfilled life in the way that you want to manifest. But that's the key. It's doing it from a place of wholeheartedness and from within, rather than chasing those externalities. And I think that that's what you mean by chase you. you, right?
100%, 100%. And spirituality has definitely become more mainstream, but yeah, it's not about changing anything in your life that you love and that feels authentic to you and feels good. I mean, I've got crystals on my nightstand next to like 3 face masks and closet full of beauty swag. So there's no, there are no rules. There are no rules. And we all have access to the other side. We are trying to democratize spirituality for people and make it accessible because it's really our birthright to have and receive this support.
Yeah. I think one of the terms or a couple of the terms that we'll often use in the conscious community is I'm a way shower or a light bearer, things like that. And I consider myself a way shower because I am definitely the person that is for the conscious curious. And it's like, oh, if you haven't heard of this, I would like to introduce you to Elizabeth because she might have something that can help you in terms of like finding a sense of wholeness and getting you to that next step, helping you to escalate on your journey to a higher vibration. And so part of that is an understanding of spirit guides, because I know that a lot of people will be like, okay, do I have Casper the Friendly Ghost in my closet? That, what is going on? What do you mean by this? It's frightening or it's like creepy or like curious. Again, could you just give people a 101 on what you mean by spirit guides and how they're like hanging around?
Yeah, I mean, the first question I asked Monica is, wait, do the angels have wings? Because I don't know if I can get behind this. And she said, however you want to envision them is totally fine. Now, Monica can see the other side. They will be standing in her bedroom. She can feel them. She can hear them. So she came back with those abilities after a near-death experience when she was 9 years old, a car accident. So I do not have those, but there are a number of spiritual cheerleaders on your team, and I might miss one or two here, but we're all born with an angel or two. They're with you from the time you're born to the time you die, and they help you with those sort of they keep you safe. I would say they keep you safe. When you avoid the dark alley or you take this turn instead of that turn, or you just feel like this is not the person that I want to talk to at this moment, I don't feel safe. That's what they're there for. They're really looking out for you. Spirit guides have walked the earth. They were human beings at one point, and they are here. I think of those guides as they're here to help you when you need support. So with a job, you're traveling, you are trying to make a big decision, they're there for that. There are archangels, more angels. And I want to just point out that all of these predate and are not exclusive to religion. So this is regardless of religious affiliation, which I have none, by the way. So archangels really come in for very specific needs, whether it's you're in career transition or you're struggling with money, etc. And they just come and go. They're not always with you. What else? There are ascended masters who, whether it's Buddha or Jesus or Mother Earth, any of those sort of philosophies that you gravitate toward, you can call on them or study their philosophies, and they're there to sort of guide you on your mission, depending on what your soul is seeking. And then loved ones, ancestors, pets, anyone who has crossed over, they're also on your team. Are you tearing up?
Oh, I'm not.
Okay.
Maybe it's my angels.
Maybe it's your angels. Sorry, people sometimes get emotional, but yes, any of your loved ones, furry or otherwise, who have passed over, they're always available to you as well.
Amazing.
So it's a big team. It's a big team.
It's a big team. And so spirit guides are, I guess what you're saying is that it's like a team of angels or a team of ancestors, people who have come before you that are there really to help you in your life. And so they'll always be there. And sometimes they're whispering, maybe subconsciously, different thoughts or suggestions or different ways of going about things. You can ignore them. It's really like you are not a puppet on a string, right? You are
correct. You have absolute free will.
You have free will. That's not
always.
like being controlled by or possessed by anything at all. They're just think of them as almost like those ones that are just giving you extra support and helping you with wisdom that you otherwise may not be knowing that they're there for you. And so what are some of the ways that we can be like, hey, be more aware of them or call on them when we need it? Or how do we tap into this?
Well, you mentioned sort of hearing whether it's a thought pops into your head You just have a knowing. Everyone sort of has a different, you've probably heard of like clairvoyance, clairsentience. So most of us have sort of a primary way that we use our intuition. As a writer, sometimes I will write and I will look down and think, where did that come from? Like, I don't know where that idea came from or that sentence. And the other side is often working through you without you being conscious of that you're in conversation. But when you have a gut feeling, when something pops into your head, when you think to call someone, when you think to reach out for a coffee date when you're networking, or a company, or just a bright idea, that's often them giving you that intuitive, that gift. And you don't have to do anything to receive that. You don't even have to believe me. We love skeptics. But everyone has probably experienced that in their life, and just know like the other side is always loving. They're always supportive. You cannot mess up this contact or this communication, but they are always working on your behalf. Another way that people, without realizing it, have been working with the other side is through signs. So loved ones often show up as animals for people. We have many stories in the book. Cardinals are a biggie. My father-in-law has dumped feathers on us when he wants us to move or change some behavior. So we know he always shows up that way. And you can start working with the other side to ask for those signs. So this is a few lessons in the book, so I won't go through them all on this podcast, but we start by having you meet your team. So there's an exercise where you basically say, I want to connect with you. I give you permission. And then you ask them to send you a sign or three. We like to do things in threes because it really hits the message home, and people need a lot of validation that this is real in the beginning. And so we always teach in threes, and Monica actually developed this sort of process. I don't even want to call it a process, but this is how she taught her kids about the other side. So it's very simple and joyful, and you can't mess it up. So once you've sort of validated that your team is real, then you can start asking them to send you signs about anything you have questions about, or you're struggling with, or you need guidance or support on. Yeah.
That's brilliant. I'll share just something that I had experience with. And for whatever reason, all throughout my life, I've always felt that I've had a guardian angel. And even since I was a young child, and I always felt like I'm going to be safe. Things are going to be okay. And every once in a while, I would hear a voice, and it was actually a very comforting, soothing male voice. And it was always some assurance, like, everything's going to be all right. I've got you. Things are going to be okay. And it was always so nice knowing that I could always just sit back, breathe, look at nature, and feel okay, no matter what was going on. And so I'm not quite sure what the voice was, who it was, if it was an archangel, if it was, who it was, but it's just something that has always been with me. And I've come to just embrace the fact that, yeah, I think that a lot of us are being looked after. That doesn't mean that things won't happen. Doesn't mean that shit won't happen, for sure. But it can be a way for us to be able to feel a little bit better in those moments when the shit does hit the fan, or when things happen. I think a lot of people are celebrating today because somebody was arrested in New York. I think some people know who that was. It's a choice.
Monica would say, and his angels, he also has angels and spirit guides. No one is left unattended to. So
yes, this is true. This is true.
Yes, I know. Sometimes I think, how could that person have any support on the other side? How?
He clearly has some support, because look at what's
I know.
able to galvanize. But
we also
shall be unnamed. I call him Voldemort.
You shall not be named. We're all here to learn life lessons. That is part of our time.
Yeah. We all agreed to this. We all agreed to
all signed up and agreed, and some of those lessons are tougher than others. So I'm curious if you still hear this voice, if you still hear from your guide, or if you still have a ritual. Yeah, you still feel this support around you.
Yeah. And I will say that as somebody who has definitely gone through the experience of awakening, it ebbs and flows. There are certain times where I will, depending on what's going on in my life, I'll really be able to meditate and be much more in tune with what we would call the intuition, and get the messages and do free writing and have a lot of things come through. It happened when I was writing my book. It was just a lot more free flowing, and I'm not a great writer. I strangely started writing, and I believe it was just me being a channel more than anything. And so there is that. And then there are other times where I'm I I got nothing. I feel like there's like a detachment, and it's natural. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. At least I've come to appreciate that about myself. It's just like you might be going through a period where it's like you're not as open for whatever reason. It could be environmental, it could be what you're eating or not eating, it could be your lack of sleep or exercise. It could be like you taking care of you to be in a prime place to be able to receive messages and to really be in tune with them. And so I'm sure that there's a whole sort of series of practices which can help kind of like get you into more of the rhythm of being able to be in touch with the spirit side, if you will. Yeah.
There is. And it's totally natural to want to either just get busy, live in your life, and you don't have questions and you're on a roll, and I will forget because I don't need anything. I mean, that's sort of human nature. Like until I have a question or I'm struggling, like, oh no.
Now I need you, God.
Now I need you. It's sort of like parents, I'm like, Mom, I take you for granted. And then I call you as soon as I need your love and TLC. So they're not going anywhere. You cannot lose the connection. You cannot piss them off. They will be waiting. And also, like, this is not always easy work because we learn things about ourselves. We learn things that we want to change in our lives, and that can require effort and disruption. And I've asked Monica before, like, I cannot take it anymore. I can't take the change. I can't take the work anymore. And she's like, take a break or tell your team to slow down on all of the awakenings. But when you sort of come through that and are ready again, or if you are able to make it a regular practice, like we just really encourage people. And I've seen this with myself for sure. You need to find some stillness, whether that is, for me, it's in the bathtub because I have no distractions. People feel like it's same with the shower. You're just there, your body, the water. And that's when I can like get some clarity and hear from them. For some people, it's nature, meditating. I don't like to put a lot of like construct around it because that just feels like another to-do that none of us have time for or commitment to. But it is in the stillness is where you can hear yourself and the other side, if you would like to speak with them.
Yeah, I've often told some people that binaural beats tended to help me as well to get my brain waves into a certain, whether it's theta or a more creative state, to be able to actually mentally prime yourself for receiving inspiration in certain ways. That was always a big one for me.
We are such a thinking society. I will think my way into the solution. I will think about how I'm feeling. I will think about what I want. And that can be really limiting.
Yeah, that's definitely true. So where can people find your intriguing book? Because I'm sure that you're going to have a lot of people very interested in knowing about your field guide for spirituality.
Yeah, this is supposed to be an easy, fun read. You can take it one step at a time. You can devour it in a weekend. We have links to the book at chaseu.org. Also very easy to find on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and some indie bookshops. And it's also available on Audible and Kindle. So sometimes it's nice to listen. I've always loved listening to spiritual and self-help books.
I'm an Audible fan.
They keep me company. Yeah, they just are like a walking meditation unto themselves. But yeah, it's out there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. This was so insightful.
I can't wait to follow along on your journey too. I cannot wait.
Excellent. All right. We'll be hearing from you soon.
All right, my dear. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Human Beauty Movement podcast. Be sure to follow, rate, and review us wherever you stream podcasts. The Human Beauty Movement is a community-based platform that cultivates the beauty of humankind. Check out our workshops, find us on social media, and share our inspiration with all the beautiful humans in your life. Learn more at thehumanbeautymovement.com. Thank you so much for being a beautiful human.